Today I have with me two gentlemen who have been recently signed by Valuetainment, a media company owned by Patrick Bet. They've been known for going viral for their kindness content and literally have changed the lives of so many individuals that they've encountered. I'm proud to say that they're also Assyrian men that I can call my friends. Neenib, Youkana, and Braven, Davood. Thank you guys so much for inviting me out here to Fort Lauderdale, sitting in Patrick Bet cigar lounge. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing excellent. Thank you. Thank you for having us on your show. Welcome to Florida. I hope you saw a couple iguanas running around and didn't scare you too much. I'm happy to be here to meet your team. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming out here. You, your brother, your whole team, all amazing. And yeah, you got no sleep, I heard, on the flight. So I don't know how you're doing it, but
Red eye flight, straight off the plane, straight here. But, hustler mentality. We got to keep doing what we're doing. You guys can relate to that. This is the first that I'm doing two-person interview at the same time, so please forgive me if I'm swiveling my head back and forth. I might get a little dizzy, but we're going to rock with it, and it's going to be a great conversation. So first, let's address the elephant in the room. You guys got signed by Patrick Bet of Valuetainment. What was the decision for you guys to sign with Valuetainment? Was it, man, they gave me the offer of editors? Is it they got the media company behind them where they can push out our content so the reach is bigger? What was so enticing about Valuetainment that you guys are like, we have to join this company?
honestly, I think if it wasn't Patrick with David, we wouldn't be here. He was like a big part of why we're here today and why we want to work for him. Like, he's a Syrian, he's a leader, he's a role model. It's not like he's a bad influence to the young generation, to us. We can learn a lot from him and his whole team, and it's really inspiring, like what he's done. He's moved from Iran, not even born here, and just made this empire and made all this money, and he's using it for good. And yeah, that's the main part. There's a lot of things that they're helping us out with as well, just having a whole team behind us, and yeah, editors too. We're working on getting an editor, so that'll change the game.
Yeah, essentially, I agree. Same thing what Nita was saying. We actually reached out to the PBD team. So we follow Patrick for a while now. We've been following him. We have the same beliefs as him. He's obviously a Syrian too, which gives it a little extra sprinkle on top. But essentially, we just want to do what we were doing to the next level, have a little more resources, have a little more support, be able to reach more people, have a bigger reach, and yeah, just spread as much positivity as possible.
How is it working for someone with such a large and impactful name such as Patrick Bet? Because a lot of people could see that as a very intimidating factor, that now you have to answer to someone who has zero tolerance for nonsense. Is it you guys view it as we're pitching or hitching our horse on a very powerful wagon, or do you view it as this is a bit intimidating at times? It's not the same as making content when we were individual and solo.
So to answer your question, it's a little bit of both, to be honest, because essentially what we started off with was just Neenib and I just going around with no intentions at all. We're like, okay, let's just get some flowers. How can we make somebody's day better, right? Without spending too much, because we didn't have that much money at the time. And it was like, what's the worst that can happen? We just put a smile on somebody's face. You know what I'm saying? Like, deep down, it'll still feel good. We still did the kindness, and then leave the rest to God. So now that we've partnered up with VT, I feel like we've added a little more pressure on ourselves, which is kind of good. It adds a little more accountability, because we're like, okay, like, let's analyze why didn't the video do as good as we thought it would. And now we're doing this more full time, so we're able to put our heads into the game a lot more, which in a sense, it can be a little bit intimidating at first, but I don't think it's something that we can't get through. We're here for a reason. God put us here for a reason, and we're just gonna continue what we do best and go from there and learn.
I love that.
Yeah, just like what he said, like, it's a little intimidating, it feels like, because now we have eyes on us and we have to perform, and we're here. They expect us to perform like how we did, and we've been doing this for a year, and it's been going well, thank God. It's hard. It's a tricky one. Like, we're so excited to be here, but at the same time, there's pressure. There's a bit of pressure on my shoulders, I'll say too, just because we have to do well here and continue what we've been doing. And we're in a new city now, so the vibes are different. People are different here. We've been making a couple videos, but you can feel that it's not LA. It's like it's Florida now. There's a whole different vibe, and we're still trying to crack the code. Like, where are the best places to film? Get a feel of the right people to help out. Because we don't really plan things. We kind of just improvise, and we get a feel of like, if we see someone who just looks like, it's like the Holy Spirit tells us, it's like, all right, let's go talk to that person. So that's basically what we've been doing the whole year, and that's one of the reasons we got here. We've just been letting God really lead us. For some reason, we always seem to pick the perfect person, and thank God, I hope it keeps going that way. There's still some pressure, I guess you can say, because there's people analyzing our content now, checking the views, seeing why this didn't go well. We got to sell merch so we can make more videos using that money and just help more people. So there's a lot of different things, and we just have to slowly like put it into what we're doing now. It seems easy in other people's eyes. It might be like, they're set. They're with Valuetainment. They got everything. They got people helping them out, but it's not as easy as people think it is. I think it's harder than ever now, and we have to just really lock in. And Braven says it all the time. Like, we're here for a reason. God brought us here. We trust him, even though it can be intimidating. We know God didn't bring us all the way here for nothing. So
Understood. And you touched on a lot of things I actually want to dive deeper into, so we'll get into all of those things that you mentioned briefly. But first, I want to just stick on the value of Valuetainment, and then we could transition a bit. I don't want you to bash your employer, but what are some things that you were super unexpected when you first got here that caught you off guard?
First, like, everybody's energy is amazing. I'll start off with that. Everybody was super friendly, so welcoming. We got invited to a person here named Eric. He invited us over to his dinner. Very welcoming, supportive. He gave us an air mattress. That's just one example. We had another gentleman offer us a dolly to help us kind of move our things in and get situated. They gave us places to go. So high energy, so good. I'm happy to be here. There's another thing that really surprised us. Patrick has his employees do like a monthly book report type of deal. So what he'll do is he'll choose a book of something he's read or something that's actually really good, like a good topic book, and they'll do like a report on it. They'll get together. It's kind of like a book club, if you will. It's very interesting. We're like, whoa, like this is like kind of like accelerated reading back in middle school, where you have to go on the computer, make sure you read the book and do like points on that system. It's kind of similar to that, which I thought was very interesting.
One thing for me, I'd say on the day we came here and we went to the Valuetainment office, we met everyone, they showed us a tour. We get treated to lunch by Pat's team, and we get to this place called Angelo's, this Italian restaurant, and apparently it's Pat's favorite restaurant. So the owner there has like his assigned seating just for Pat in one of the corners, and then me and Braven we're eating pizza, and then we grab this sauce and we look at it, and it's Pat's face on the sauce. They made like a custom PBD sauce for his just because it's like his favorite sauce and he always comes there. So the owner really respects him, and he moves like the president. Really, it's crazy. Like you just see this 6'4", however tall he is, just moving like a G. He's definitely like a leader. It's hard to explain. He's just very inspiring, and a lot of people respect him here. Like, he'll go around Florida, like, do you know Patrick David? Yeah, I love him. Like, lately we've always been asking strangers, they're like, yeah, we watch his podcast, or yeah, he's a cool guy. So he's really respected here, and working for someone like that is a plus for sure.
Yeah, and I've been doing the book report in a setting where you're incentivized to do so because the culture thrives off of you learning from something and you actually self-improve from it. It's way better than back in elementary school where you would just use like Spark Notes and then you can just cheat on it or whatever, right? You're actually getting something from it instead of a grade that you can easily finesse. But sorry,
one more thing. Another thing that caught us by surprise, there's this guy named Brandon who's in Valuetainment. He's like 25, I think. His job at Valuetainment is literally to become the next president. Like, Pat's kind of mentoring him and
of the United States of America.
the United States of America. Yeah, that's his job. His dream job, his main goal. Every day he's studying and doing everything he can to make a name for himself. And when the time is right, I think I guess he has to be in his 40s years old.
35 is the minimum.
I think so. Yeah. So every time we walk around, we're like, hey, Mr. President, how's it going? And I think he will be. So
what are some things that you wish to take away at your time with Valuetainment and learning directly from Patrick? Because a lot of people will jump on to a leader and be like, I want to learn sales, negotiation, marketing, something they want to like really master and major in, where they look at this individual and like, that's my mentor for this. What do you two want to take away from being here with Valuetainment?
Maybe like the business side of this, because me and Braven, we were never in this for the money. We, like he said, we literally just picked up a camera and went and spread kindness, just trying to put good out there. But it's a weird situation where you need money to help people. So our goal is to learn how we can make as much money as we possibly can, so we can help more people and give more money away, and just do crazier things. And we're hoping God blesses us with that. And so far, He's been doing that. So the next 2 years is like crucial for us to really just put our heads down and make that happen. So
You two are obviously very close. Last time I interviewed you, it was about 10 months ago.
yeah.
It was 2022, or yeah, middle of 2023 actually. And so you weren't there, unfortunately. I don't know what happened with that. But now that we got the dynamic duo together, I want to learn a little bit about your guys' relationship. So is this strictly business? Are you guys friends behind the scenes? What is this exactly?
Braven is like a brother who's not actually my brother, but is more than a brother to me. That's the best way I can put it. Like, I can't even explain. Like, I would die for him right now. Like, if someone came in the room and a gun, like, my first thought is like, how can I protect Braven? It's like this brotherhood. I can't explain. It's just straight from God. I really must say, like, I had like, there was like a time in my life where it was and it's crazy. Like, I'm getting emotional, and I rarely get emotional, but it's like I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. I was very lost. I, not in a way like bad. I wasn't doing drugs or alcohol or anything like that, but I was just very lost, I guess. And I was forgetting to pray at night, for example. I was kind of being distant from God, and I just, everything would go downhill. I stopped posting for those 2 years, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, because like TikTok was a big part of my life coming up, making content. That's what everyone knew me for. And then bang, COVID happened. Just something happened. I guess something changed in me where I stopped posting. It wasn't for me, like comedy videos. It's not my personality. I feel like I was just doing it just to do. Like, it's not really Neenib, I guess. So I guess I was like very alone that time too. I was living alone in LA. I didn't really have much friends at that time, and I was just to myself. And then at one time I was in Canada during COVID, and I reevaluated everything. I was like, what's going on? Like, where's the old Neenib? Like, I'm losing myself right now. And then I look back at like 8th grade in high school, where I was much more happier, and I realized at that time I was always praying. I was always close to God. So I just, that very night, I went in my room, I shut the door, I go on my knees, and I'm like crying to Jesus. I'm like God, like, I don't want to live for myself anymore. I just want to live for you. Like, use me. Like, I'll go through anything for you, Lord. Use me as a tool to just, I want to be your warrior, God. Like, after I said that prayer, and like I just completely like surrendered to God. I'm like, God, like, you're full in control of my life. Like, I'm done thinking about what other people think. Like, the very next day, I'm at the gym, and I call Braven. I go to the gym at like 2 a.m. my time. I'm in Canada at this point, because I'm just there for Christmas. During that time, I missed Braven a lot. I was like, man, I miss when me and Braven were friends. He was the only friend I had in LA. Now he's like, he moved to San Diego at the time. He can explain that after this, but he was in San Diego for a while for work. So we kind of just parted ways, friendly. We kind of just stopped being friends for a little bit, but we were always close. And I called Braven. I was like, dude, we got to do something. Like, look what's going on in the world. It's like crap right now. Everyone's fighting each other. It's just a very negative time in the world that time. So we analyzed, like, what can we really do? And then we came to the conclusion where it's like, we have this platform on TikTok. Why don't we just use it for good? And like you said, what's the worst that could happen? We just give our money away, make people's day, call it a day. It's like, who cares? That sounds like fun to me. And we had no intentions of taking it this far, but yeah, I guess when I gave him that call, he felt the same way. Like, we just wanted to change our lives, do something different. We were tired of our daily routine and just not going anywhere, it felt like. And then yeah, the second we get to LA, we meet up, and straight from that day, it's just like brothers. None of this would be possible without him. That's what it sucks sometimes, because like I'm on camera, and like, he doesn't, sometimes they don't see what he does like behind the scenes, but he does so much. Like, I wish people can see that. I think they will at some point, because we'll do YouTube long form. And
I do want to get into your side of the story too, but first, so you were in Canada, he was in San Diego. You both decided to move to LA at the same exact time. Did you both feel like there was nothing really going on in your lives in terms of the traditional 9-to-5 structure or university, getting a degree, and you felt like you could go and make it out somewhere in a different avenue such as social media, or no, was that just an accident? A career came out of it after you guys started to do things on social media together?
I was working a 9 to 5, so I was in that like lifestyle already. I just want to do something more impactful with my life instead of just being at a company 9 to 5 every single day, just kind of like repeat this cycle, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It paid the bills. I was making good money at the time. I was able to support my family, but I just wasn't feeling satiated, if that makes sense. I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to help others. And nowadays with like social media being such a like a high attention economy, if you want to call it, right? Everybody's on social media. We're like, okay, well, what do we have? What can we use to our benefits? What are advantages right now? Okay, we have a phone. Okay, we have internet. We can start as simple as just giving flowers away, and just one thing led to another, and it just snowballed from there. And I was able to get that fulfillingness that I was really searching for. And I just, there's a lot more to it, and I'll explain that when I get to my side of the story, but essentially just wanted to have a more fulfilling life.
And right now I want to just find out, how did you two meet initially? Was it through church?
We met, at Bible study at church. My first week in LA, I moved in 2018 August, like right after I graduated high school. I moved to LA, and the only reason I was even able to stay in LA, I was staying at the church, the St. Mary's Assyrian Church of the East, like Matsmariam. So Gasha Goedges, he had these rooms like right next to the church. He owns these like little rooms that used to be used for Assyrian classes, and they later renovated it and made it like studio apartments. So I got one of those studio apartments. He allowed me to stay there, and that helped me a lot because it wasn't very expensive at the time, the rent. I was there just starting school. I went there for track and field for LA. I had no intentions of doing content creating. And my very first week, I go to Bible study, and it was Braven's first week of going to Bible study as well. So straight from there, that's where I met him. And yeah, he can explain how he got there too.
Yeah, so this was back in 2018 is where I met Neenib. Because I grew up only child. I had like no siblings, but man, I found my brother. It's crazy. But what happened is in 2018, how we met in church was, at the time I got my license suspended. I got caught for street racing. I was 21. Just being foolish, I had a cool little car. I thought I was just being stupid, right? Like just 21-year-old kid. And then 6 days later, I ended up getting out of a relationship. So like, I was kind of going through this like downward spiral. My parents were a little upset at me, like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? I wasn't doing drugs or anything. Like, I wasn't drinking alcohol, just like racing, just got out of a relationship. You could tell I was just kind of going through it, trying to like discover myself, like trying to understand what life is really. And then I ended up going to Bible study. Like, it was because I know we had it every Fridays. Like, I'd go to St. Mary's Assyrian Church, like just mainly for like Easter, Christmas. I grew up in the valley, so it was like always like a 10-minute drive to my house. So I ended up going to Bible study, and in my first week there, like Nina mentioned, that's when I met him. And ever since then, we became friends. It was like this connection. Like, we kind of like knew each other. We vibed really well. We would hang out from there. Honestly, like started going to the gym. He would do some TikTok videos. Like, he was on social media. It was just like kind of like comedy skits. It wasn't like anything crazy. He just did it because it was fun. Because he moved here to do like track and field, but he ended up kind of doing like the social media route. And I would help him with that a little bit here and there. Time goes on, whatever, fast forward, COVID-19 happens. So I actually end up moving to San Diego. I got hired as a project engineer to do general contracting out there. So I took that opportunity to go to just, to better myself, just to learn. It was a good opportunity. My dad actually, he fell off a scaffold. He fell 9 foot down. He shattered his calcaneus, which is the medical term. 9 feet. The whole scaffold collapsed. He shattered his calcaneus, which is the medical term for your heel bone. He tore his meniscus and ACL. So he was unable to work. He had like 3 surgeries. It's still been a couple years now, and he's still not able to work. He's handicapped pretty bad. But thank God he's alive. Like, it's my pops. Like, it's my hero right there. So, that was a huge impact on our family. So that's what actually, during that process, I was moving back to LA because I got a job offer to basically do what I was doing back in LA. So like, this is a great opportunity. I can help my parents. They don't have to worry about working because my mom's not working at the time. My mom's not working at all either. So was like, okay, this is perfect. I can go back. I can help my parents. And then Neenib, I get that call from Neenib. Actually, before that call, like I said, I always want to do a bit more impactful thing in my life instead of just working like a 9 to 5, like this cycle. Really wake up 5 a.m., brush my teeth, go to the gym, go to work, come back, like, which was fine, but not satiating enough. So I was, just praying every day to God, just like, hey, like I want to do something meaningful. Please, like, Lord, remove anything in my life that's not meant for me. Like, I'm grateful that I have a good job, that I'm able to support my parents financially, but like, I want to feel satiated. I want to love others the way you love others. And at that time, I remember I was praying. I literally just finished up praying because Neenib's in Canada, right? He's calling like 2 a.m. Canadian time. What time is it? It's like 11 my time. I'm about to get ready to go to sleep. And then I pick up, and immediately, like, we're just, hey, bro, what's up? Like, it's like we never stop talking to each other. And he's just telling me, he's like, bro, I'm actually moving back to LA. And in the next few weeks, like, let's spread some kindness. I'm like, what do you mean you're moving back? Like, what? Like, kindness, what? And then he's like, yeah, I'm moving back. I'm like, dude, I just moved back to LA myself. Like, I just moved back. I literally just finished first 2 weeks at work here. Like, I'm still settling in. I'm at my parents' house. I'm like, bro, let's do it. Like, let's spread some kindness together. Like, just put God's image out there, number one, and just make somebody's day. Like, let's feel good about it and help others in need. Because in LA, I don't know if you've been in LA, but there's a lot of people that are in need in LA. Like, it's just, you can go outside and help anybody you see. And the way that Neenib and I just partner up together, it's crazy, man. Like, I can trust this guy with anything. And I've never really trusted anybody fully like that in my life till I met Neenib. I can give this guy my bank account, my house keys, like, God willing, one day I have kids, leave them with him. Like, I know he'll do better than me, honestly. Like, that connection is so good.
It's true
and
brotherhood.
it's literally like, it's from God. That's the only thing I can say, because people ask us how we do it, and honestly, like, words can't describe how we do it.
No, likewise. We even have this thing where he started it, actually. He said his first son will be named Neenib. So then I said, okay, my son has to be named Braven. So whoever our wives are, there's like no negotiations at all on what the son's name is going to be. And it's truly amazing, like, what happens when two Assyrian God-fearing men come together and decide to do something original, something different. And it literally just a year of hard work, dedication, and putting our heads down. It's not been easy, of course. It seems like it is, but God's been with us the whole time, blessing us, and we've had to, like, fight through the moments where we didn't feel like working. And it's always a spiritual battle as well. We have great days, some days we have bad days, but we just push through, and those days will always pass, we know.
Yeah, so I want to know what drives you guys, right? Because I understand that you want to help people. I understand that making people's lives better enriches your lives in a way as well. But listen, you're both young men. We live in a vanity world. You're both good-looking guys. You guys are in Florida. There's the fast cars. There's the nice watches. What's the carrot on the stick for you guys? Is it when you wake up every morning, is there something that you would aspire to? Is there like a materialistic thing? Is it a physical thing? What is the thing that's getting you guys out of bed?
Living for Jesus, I will say. And that's really it. Like, I'm telling you, I just completely stopped living for myself, living for the world. I gave my all to Christ, and I've been so happy ever since, and no regrets at all. And that's really my drive. Just also my parents, I guess, making my parents proud. They worked so hard, and they're still struggling. And one of my goals this year is to retire them, God willing. So
that's the carrot on the stick for you, retiring your parents.
Retiring
so it's not
parents.
The big house with the pool and the nice furniture and the trophy wife and the car in the garage and the nice suit and the Rolex on the wrist. It's none of that. It's purely relationships and family.
People I love, yeah. And also, like, for Braven and his parents too, like, we want to retire them as well. So it's more for other people. We're not really doing it for ourselves. Every day we wake up, it's like, some days I'm feeling like I'm not on my game, or I'm a little, like, tired. Braven's like, what are you doing? You have a future family to feed. And that'll just, like, spark motivation in me, and we'll get going. We'll keep working through it. The cars and all that stuff, it's like nice to have, I guess. That's just a bonus with what can happen. We don't chase those things. We just try to represent God in the best way possible, make the best videos as possible, and everything kind of comes along with it. So if money is one of those things, then sure, I'll get a cool house just to provide for my future family, inshallah. But I want a family one day, so that's another thing. Like thinking about like providing for my family, making it easier on them. I feel like everyone has that dream. They want to retire their parents before it's too late, and it's so difficult, especially now.
Understood. And what about you, Braven? What
Yeah.
drives you?
Similar goals as needed. I think this is why this works really well, because we have the same vision and we're going to both work together as a team to make that vision a reality, right? The only difference is we just have to catch up reality to our vision now. So every day we wake up, it's just fearing God, putting God first. Our families, we both come from very, with not a lot of money, if you will. Our families aren't like well off like that. His parents struggled their entire lives trying to put a meal on our table. We never had the fancy cars, the fancy house. It was just like barely making it just to get us where we are today, which is fine. That's part of our story, which makes us drive even further, right? Because it's our dads want to see us do better than them, just like we want to see our kids do better than us. So we're trying to set up a better foundation for our future families, because as you know, Assyrians, there's not a lot of us left. So that's another main goal I want to add to all those things he said, is just to put Assyrians on the map a little bit, raise more awareness. Maybe we can, maybe one day, God willing, we'll have a country again or a small city or something that's not Modesto.
We have this goal that me and Braven will somehow bring back Assyria. And I know it sounds crazy, but we truly believe it. Like in a couple of years, obviously it takes time. It takes a lot of influence and money and stuff like that. But at some point, I know it. Like I feel it. I can see it. Like Assyria is gonna come back at some point. And I know some people they might laugh right now or whatever, but I swear it's gonna happen. And if we don't, it's on us. We failed. But
Yeah, we're gonna dive deeper into that topic for sure.
yeah.
But I want to understand something. So it's not often when a person just wakes up one day and says, "I'm gonna be this way because I want to be this way." A lot of times it's because of a positive or a negative influence on their lives previous to them. So for me, it was my dad. It was my older cousin that I looked up to. That was the closest thing I had to a brother, and my first ever mentor was my father, right? And my first ever version of an older brother to me was my cousin George, my first cousin. And so I watched the way that these men live their lives, and I learned from them, and that made me want to be more like them in certain categories. For you, both of you seem like you have this kindness seed planted in you. Who was that person that you looked up to that was super kind? Maybe it was a father figure, an uncle, aunt, someone where you're like, man, I need to emulate them. Or maybe there was someone who was super bad in your lives and you're like, I don't want to be like them. Let me be the complete opposite. Which was it? Let's start with Braven first.
Yeah, for me, growing up only child, I would say it would be my parents, because I was very close to my parents. Like, I was born in Iran, right? I was born in Tehran. When I was 1 year old, I moved out. We moved to Austria. We were there for 5 years, right? We were trying to come to refugees in America. 9/11 happened. We were not getting approved. We couldn't get to America at the time. So the closest people I had to me was just my parents. I had no siblings, no family, nobody. We're in Austria now. I'm growing up. I'm going to school there. And then finally, when I moved to America, I was about 6 years old. 6 years old, going to they put me in like second grade. I spoke no English. I didn't know how to write my name. I didn't know the alphabet. So my mom held me back to kindergarten. I remember this actually. My mom had to stay with me in kindergarten for a month straight because I was only speaking German with everybody. I couldn't use the restroom. I couldn't know how to communicate with anybody. So my mom stayed with me there. I'm so grateful for my parents. They've shown me a lot of love and a lot of support. And every day I work to be better and to just make them happier and try to return that favor, all that investment that they've done in me. I want to make it worthwhile to them.
I think for me is my parents too, especially my mom. She always, even though I would make mistakes sometimes growing up as a kid, just being crazy, but my mom would always teach me the right way and always bring back religion, always talk about God.
And so, Neenib, I actually want to dive a bit into your life, background coming up. It seems like you have a lot of luck in your life. And what I mean by that is your whole career, you've been around very influential people. And we can start, we even mentioned this in the previous podcast you and I did. You've been with Adam Wahib, King Batch, Lele Pons, Juan Paz Zorita, crazy name, Hannah Stalkings, Rudy Mancuso. Now it's Patrick Bet-David, Vincent Oshana, the Biz Doc, and Adam Sosnick. It seems like if I was a person from the outside looking at Neenib's life, I would be like, man, this guy's super lucky. I cannot be successful like that because I just don't have that luck. They can have that perspective, right? For you, is it luck? Is it divine intervention? how do you explain your affiliations with so many prominent people that if you say one of those names in a public space, I would be willing to bet that at least 2 or 3 names are recognized no matter where you go.
Yeah. I think it started when I was a kid. Like my dad taught me this. It's just growing up watching him, he'd always finesse his way through things. Like for example, he'd always find a way. Like if and he'd do the complete opposite of what you're supposed to do. So obviously if you could go the boring way and like email this person or DM this person, but for example, Lele Pons and them, how that started, one of the things I did, I know they lived at 1600 Vine, which all the Viners were there at that time. And what I did, every time I would see someone go into the door, because I don't have a key fob to get in. Every time I'd see, I just follow them right behind them. And then same thing with the elevator. You can't even go up until you scan your key card. I would wait till someone goes in. I would walk in and act like I'm looking for my keys. And then I would just click the button and hope to find like Lele or Wampa and things like that. And then I'd get like apartment tours. And I was like dead broke. I can't afford 1600 Vine.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I need to understand this further. Were you not afraid of getting caught, the repercussions of your actions, of being arrested? You're breaking an entry, my man.
Yeah, no, I played very dumb, I guess. Like I just acted like, like I forgot my keys and things like that.
But there was no fear.
Very natural. Not really, because I wanted it so bad. So I always had that drive, like that competitive.
So you weren't thinking of repercussions. You were thinking of the possibility of what could happen if you were to do this thing.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. And even if I was thinking that, I was like, okay, let me think of something to say, a good excuse that makes sense if I do get caught, so I won't get in trouble. So I was always like hustling my way through, and the more you try, the luckier you get, I guess. If you're always there every day, at some point it's gonna work. And there was. Like I booked a tour online just to go through the apartments and check it out and hopefully to see someone. And when I'm on that tour, I saw Wampa, and the lady who's giving me the tour, I'm like, oh, that's my friend. I just have to go talk to him. And obviously I'd never talked to him in my life. So I left her and she let me go talk to him, because they're very like strong about their security and privacy. They don't want us like just talking to these famous people who live here. So I went to talk to Wampa. I was like, hey, I love your content. I do this. I just moved here. If you ever need anyone, like, can you take down my number? Reach out to me anytime. I'm always available. And I just keep doing that, and to everyone I saw. And then Adam was the one who like put me through the door.
Adam Mohib,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's not luck, honestly. It's just doing things outside the box, and yeah, you just gotta push yourself through, really, no matter what it is. Like, even if I didn't have a degree and I want to be a doctor, I'll somehow find a way to get that done.
Yeah, I read a book recently by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers, and the premise of the story basically is that these super successful people, such as a Bill Gates, they were born and raised in the right environments at the right time. A lot of luck had to be involved in order to get to where they're at, because the perfect person to make the first startup company of technology that would become Microsoft would be a person born in the 1950s, and he had computer access down the road from him in the 70s, which not a lot of people had, where like it was convenient because he was born in these places at the right time. He found a way to hack into the computer so he can use it unlimitedly, because back then you had to pay for each minute you use the computer. Mm-hmm. So it was like people were making arguments. Malcolm Gladwell was making the argument that not every person can become the Bill Gates of his time, because Bill Gates, all the stars aligned for him. Do you hear that and be like, it's kind of like a cop-out, it's more like God's guiding my path? Or is it like, no, I just worked hard for this?
I think it's God for sure. Like hard work and God, just prayer and work hard. Prayer and hard work. And that really gets you through. And just working every single day. Like, you don't get results every day. Even when Braven and I do this, like we'll go out for hours all day and not get a video because just things don't go well. And then what do? We just show up the next day, do it again, and then show God that you're working hard, and these blessings come out of nowhere. Because sometimes we're tested by God, and to see like how much we really trust him.
Yeah. And so transitioning a bit, which ties into what you just said right there.
Yeah.
So when you go out to be an entrepreneur, and Braven, we'll come to you for this question. When you go out to be an entrepreneur on your own, there's so much trial and error. It's, you got to test marketing. You got to shoot that video. That video didn't end up good, so you got to reshoot it, find a new person, do the editing, do the advertising, promote it. Then you got to go back, find another person, stay consistent. Then you got to make sure you figure out how to SEO it correctly, search engine optimization, and the right hashtags and the right time. And all these trial and errors. It's such a pain. So, you have your own goals that you both want to achieve individually, but now you're brought into an organization which the business side of me is telling that you need to hit their goals as well. So how have your goals changed from a year ago when you first started versus now, where as the individual Braven, you have your goals? How does that align with the goals of Valuetainment?
Yeah, it's a good question and a very simple answer. Well, how we started this all was just to help as many people in need as possible. That was always the goal, right? So now we're just going to continue to grow that to a higher level, which luckily, thankfully, we can through VT and reach more people. Because essentially, this all just started off as just to help people. It wasn't like, oh, like SEO, like how do I start, what thumbnail do I put? Or it didn't start off like that. It was just like, hey, let's just see what we know, what we can do, and leave the rest to God, and we'll learn through the process. We'll learn through our failures. Like, why didn't that do good? How can we improve this? Luckily, now we have a team that's going to feed us this information to allow us to grow more. So we're very grateful for that, because we can just continue to just bring as many people closer to Christ, which is number one goal. Number two, put Assyrians out there, like our names, like who we are, what we do, the first civilization, to adopt Christianity. Like, Jesus spoke Aramaic. Not there's like 2 billion Christians, and ask how many of them know Jesus spoke Aramaic. You'll be surprised. So put that out there, increase our numbers as Assyrians, and use the power of the internet to just help homeless, people in need, give people a house, show that Christ still exists. And nowadays, with what all this crazy stuff's going on, those are our main goals, really. And then now we have VT helping us to improve the more analytic side of it as we're, diving more deeper into the content.
I love that, and I completely agree with everything you just said. Just one thing, I the Christians, Assyrians specifically, love bringing this up. I just feel like it's necessary for me to mention this because you brought it up about Jesus speaking Aramaic. So a lot of Assyrians, which it's a beautiful thing, we do speak the modern version of the language that Christ spoke. I'm not taking that away from us or discouraging in any way, shape, or form. But I need to make this clear as to why that's the case. Back then, there were two main languages. One of them was Hebrew, and that was saved for the intellectual higher echelon of society people, the higher class, the educated class. And then Aramaic, which was the common man's language, the language of the peasants. Christ, being the humble figure that he was, who rode into a kingdom on a donkey's back, the person who was born into the manger full of animals, not a luxurious hotel or an oasis, a very humble being. So he chose, though he could speak Hebrew, to speak Aramaic, because that's the humble language. Assyrians like to say, oh, he spoke it because he loves Assyrians. It's not necessarily the case, but it's a very cool thing that we share till this day, that we can speak the language that Christ did. It's just the reasons why I think it's important to make that apparent. But so, unfortunately, though, the numbers do become the priority. I've been battling this as well. I set out to go and make sure that I highlight people within the Assyrian community, to put out books out there that insanely improved my life. But then somewhere along the lines, it becomes about numbers, about subscribers, about likes, about retweets, about all these things. And that's just because if you don't get them, you're kind of just talking into a void, right? So how do you guys stay focused when the numbers, especially the numbers that you guys get, start piling in? How do you stay focused to not make it about the numbers, but keep it about the individual? How do you keep your guys stay grounded? Neenib, we'll start with you.
It's quite easy, honestly. Like, we have this mindset. It's like, okay, we film this video and then we edited it, we post it. If it does well, if it doesn't do well, it's on the back of our heads. Now we're on to the next, and we try to not worry about that video we just posted. But another thing is, we're not afraid to fail as well. So we'll try new things all the time, even though like there's a high chance it might not go well, it might do well, because we don't know sometimes what's gonna do well or not. And I guess so the numbers sometimes matter, if you want to say that, because at any time when we were doing this 1 year journey, if the numbers just kept going down and down and the videos were flopping, at some point we wouldn't have enough money to fund these videos, or we just go down and lose everything. But it was it's crazy to look back at everything and see how well everything went. It just, because you could have millions of subscribers, and if your short form content is not good, like, the algorithm will not push it. It doesn't matter. So
Which leads me to my next topic. So the last time that we spoke, our first occurrence, you said that before you go out and find a person who you want to help, you pray and you let the Holy Spirit guide you. I want to know if that's still your method, and I want to know if that was ever your method or if you have your own ritual. So let's first start with Neenib, and then we'll come to Braven.
Yeah, for me it's the same thing as always. Just you wake up knowing that like you're gonna go out, and anything can happen. Like we don't know when, like today's gonna be a GoFundMe and it raises 100,000, or today it's just not gonna work out. We're gonna go home with no video. So every day I just pray to God that he, like I'll say like, Jesus, please, if it is your will, lead us to the right person to help today. Put us through whatever you have to do. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Just something like that. And yeah, it's and you feel it. Sometimes me and Braven will wake up, we'll be like, we know we're gonna get a good video. We know it's like, we just feel it. It's like the Holy Spirit. And then our most recent example, that we did a GoFundMe for a guy named Roderick, and his wife had cancer. Her name's Marlene. That day we had that feeling, and it's kind of rare we have that feeling, but we both had that feeling. We're like, we're gonna get a good video, we're gonna like help someone out today. And we go to this Walmart that we never ever go to, because it's more like more wealthier people go there, so we try to avoid going to places like that. But we just went, and we just found him there. And who would have known, like that day we would have raised like 33,000, I think it was, for him and
That
his
was
wife.
the video you guys showed on your announcement when you guys signed on Valuetainment, right?
Yeah,
that was
one.
beautiful. Yeah.
So yeah, even another example, we'll be in Walmart. We're trying to find someone who didn't celebrate their birthday, and we get some, like, everyone's saying like, yeah, we celebrated this year and all that. We're trying to look for someone who didn't. And then me and Braven, we see this one girl. We look at each other. We're like, yeah, her. And then we go up to her, and it just happened to be like her son passed away in a car crash, and he was unrecognizable. Her mom passed away that year, and she didn't celebrate her birthday because she was alone. And it was like, it was crazy. Like, you could feel the Holy Spirit telling you, like, go to that girl. And yeah, it's unbelievable, because you could have brought any atheist along our 12-month journey, and they would have believed in God if they saw what we saw. And there's so many stories like that where,
or they could push back and say, no, you guys are just talking to so many people, you're bound to find people who are in need.
no, it's not that case, trust me, because you just have to be there to witness it. It's so incredible. Like, things will happen wrong. It's like, why did that happen? Like, everything was going well. Why like something goes wrong? Like, we accidentally don't film, or the audio cuts out, and then we have to do it again, and then we do it again, and it's the most perfect person that we could have got, like way better than what we were originally planning. Or a video will flop, and then we'll change to, like, we'll just try to make a new video or something, or go to a new place, and we find like the most perfect person there.
What does perfect person mean? What qualifies them?
When I say that, it's like they've gone through hell. Like, they really needed that act of kindness just to give them hope again. Because yeah, we meet, yeah, it's just sad. Like, so many people are going through things, and some people are just going through more than others, which sucks. So that little, like, act of kindness, and you know what it is, it's not even about the money. Sometimes, like, you could give $500, you can give $100. It's more about the act of kindness, just helping them out, making them feel special.
Someone cares about you.
Yeah, like our most recent video, for example, like, people, okay, now we're signed to Valuetainment. People expect us to just give away thousands and thousands. Our most recent video, all we did was buy these two girls. They're super nice, very wholesome, and we just bought them a teddy bear. And it was just, and in that video, I think it's at like 2 million now views. And it's just about the act of kindness, really. It's not really about like how much money you're giving. It's about catching their story, see how they feel after sharing their story, and just brightening their day, really.
I want to know how you start this day before you head out into the field and find someone. Braven, tell me about your rituals. Is it the same as Neenib? Is it a bit different? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's essentially very similar. Every morning I wake up, I always start with like a prayer. It's the first thing I do when I wake up. I have to pray. I'm not leaving the house till I pray. So I'll do that. Obviously, in my prayer, I'll always ask God to let the Holy Spirit guide me to the right person in need, to the person we need to bless and bring closer to you, or who's struggling financially. Like, Lord, please just be the driver, essentially, of that car when we're out there. And, you know, there's days where we don't find anybody, and that's just part of the process. Our faith in God is so strong, we'll just keep trying again. And sometimes we'll find somebody who really deserves it. And honestly, it's all from God. It's as simple as that. I mean, it helps that him and I are really good at communicating with people. We're very good at like striking conversations and getting deep with strangers really fast. So like, oh, is this really happening right now? Are we recording? Like, that is crazy what they're going through. And when you wake up every single day with the objective and purpose to find somebody in need and make a good video out of it and share their story online, you're gonna find somebody.
So I do want to touch on that. You and Nina both mentioned this. And so is there a side of you that feels that it's exploitive when you see someone who's down on their luck and now you're like, okay, this is someone we can make content on and they have a deep story? Or how do you view that? Is there a confliction there for you guys?
No, I think our intention is to really just help them out, and I just hope that like we can start a GoFundMe for them. Like that's probably my favorite videos, when we get to start a GoFundMe for them and just raise money and change their lives. Like that's like really life changing. And no, we have good intentions. It's not like that. Like and we're also very aware of who we're trying to help. Like if we see someone who's like they're really down bad, but we can tell they're like, you know, doing drugs or things like that, we're not gonna go start a GoFundMe for them, because we know that can lead to like worse things and just feed into their addiction. So we try to help people. Like when we see people like that, we'll try to talk to them like off camera and hear their story, just try to like give them some advice. But it's very tricky. We have to be careful about who we start GoFundMes for too. Like we don't really think of it, who cares, let's start a GoFundMe and raise this amount and make a video out of it. It's like, if like we had this video blow up, it got like 10 million views and everyone was asking GoFundMe, and we could have easily raised, I genuinely think that GoFundMe would have raised 50,000 easily. Like his story was really sad, but there was some stuff behind the scenes that we found out that we couldn't. There was a reason why we didn't start the GoFundMe, just for his safety and stuff like that. So I see where some people's thoughts are, but our intention is just really just show the love of Jesus through these videos.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I asked that is just because of the skeptics out there. Because I know you guys. I know your intentions. I know you're good-hearted individuals. And you have a very good track record. You have the proof of showing and following up with the people and literally handing them the money that you guys raised for them. So I don't think that you're exploiting them in terms of, I'm going to use you for views and then you're out of here. It's like you're actually giving them a positive benefit in their life. It's just an opportunity that comes your way. But I do want to ask, do you choose to, or do you rather follow up with the individuals you've previously helped? Do you keep in contact with them, or is it kind of like after you've handed them the money, you just let them be, or do you guys still keep a good relationship with them?
Yeah, we always get their numbers. Just, you know, if we do raise a GoFundMe, we got to reach out somehow and give them the money, right? Like, and we'll check up on them like here and there. Like with Roderick, we went to his house multiple times afterwards just to have some tea, like check up on him and his wife Marlene. We do our best that we can. Obviously now we moved to Florida, so it's like it's a little harder for us to see the people we've helped, and some of them may not have phones, but we know generally where they are, so like we'll kind of like visit them if they're homeless, and like, you know, locals will know them. We'll find them pretty easily. But now it's all a little harder. We're in Florida, we can't go back to those connections, but we're making new connections here, going back to them, checking up on them, making sure they're good. Yeah, it's like kind of like they're like our family, you know.
Yeah. No, I love that, and it's nice that you guys actually keep in touch with them as much as you can after the deed is done. So every kitchen is rubbish until you get a fine piece of stone to cut your tomatoes on. Introducing the ultimate upgrade to your kitchen: beautiful and durable countertops. Located in the heart of Arizona, Babylon Concepts has the expertise to get you the right countertops for residential, commercial, restaurant, other specialty projects in order to get the right feel and look for all of your countertop needs. Granite, quartz, marble, quartzite, limestone. Go to their website today to get a free estimate or call 623-707-7640. And here's the cool part: if you tell them that I sent you and you saw this ad from my podcast, they will give you a 10% off on all services. And be sure to follow Babylon Concepts on Instagram and Facebook to stay up to date with all their latest projects and get ideas for your dream home. All links in the description of this video. Now back to the interview. When I was a young teenager, my dad used to go on like major holidays, Christmas, Easter, of the likes of that, order at a local Jack in the Box like 500 burgers or sandwiches. They hated us there because we would put them to work. And he would invite, you know, it would be my mom, my brother, myself, and then it would be my cousins, aunts, uncles. He would invite everyone to come and, you know, donate so we can pitch in to purchase these food substances, and then we hand them out to the homeless people in downtown Phoenix in Arizona. And so there was a time in my life, though, when I stopped going, maybe around 13 or 14. And my cousins, my mom, my dad, they still went. My brother, they still went. And they not made fun of me, but they gave me crap for it. They said, what, are you afraid? You're afraid of these people? Because, a lot of them were not well. They were a bit intimidating looking. But the truth is, I wasn't afraid. I felt very bad for them. It made my heart sad to see these people in this condition. I would not have depression over it, but I would get depressed by seeing it. You guys are constantly hearing these stories. You're constantly seeking these stories in a way, right? And so when you go home and you shoot the film and then you edit it and you rewatch the video, you're hearing the same sad story over and over. You showed on the day that you guys got announced on the podcast, Vinny was almost crying just seeing it one time. The story where you guys gave the man $30,000. So do these stories ever touch your heart where you're just like, man, you know what? I need a week break. I need a month break. I can't do this all the time. It's getting to me. Or no, does it not get to you? Do you live for this? Talk to me about that. Braven, let's start with you.
Yeah. At least on my end, I think it helps us to push more, to find more people like that, share their story, help them, to raise more awareness for them. Yeah, I will admit there's times when we're actually on set, shooting and talking to these people, I'm tearing up, wow, But obviously we got to hold it together. It gets intense for sure, I will say. But our goal is to help them and kind of just put the feelings aside and just continue to keep pushing and try to reach as many people as possible. And it feels better, to be honest. That satisfaction you get at the end overrules that sadness that came along with it.
I see. Yeah, Nina, what about you?
Yeah, same thing. Sometimes they'll be really, it's more when they cry in front of you, it hits different. It's dang, you just feel it in your heart. It just hits you right away. And it's definitely emotional. Sometimes when it's really emotional, it's when I'm editing and I'm watching it again. I've seen this before, but you feel so bad for the person again. You're rewatching the edit. It's dang, this person really deserves the money. And yeah, it's tough for sure, but I'd say we're very mentally strong people. So we do our thing every day. We show up every day. No matter what happens, we could have the worst day of our lives, but next day we'll still show up. So I guess our mindset is what helps this going as well, for sure.
Understood. And so Neenib, you're a Canadian boy. You're raised in Canada. You go to LA. You're also in LA. Now we're in Florida. Florida makes LA look like Weenie Hut Jr., and I'll explain why. We're here. There's no Christian community in terms of what you guys are used to. There's no Assyrian church here like how we're accustomed to. I actually heard from you earlier before we started shooting behind the scenes that there is a youth group being founded and started here. I think it's a bit ways away from here, though. It's not very close by like how you're accustomed to. And you're not really a part of it. You got to distance yourself away from your church that you grew up in. There's no church. There's, what there is instead of churches? Topless bars. Miami's just down the road. The clubs are here. There's a lot of rappers here. Cocaine's famous here. Scarface was shot here. There's a lot of things here that aren't necessary in line with the way that you guys were brought up. So taking all of that into consideration, the insane nightlife, the drugs, women, all these things, not saying you'll get into it, God forbid, but I'm sure you both knew what you were getting yourself into when coming down here, the possibility of temptation, of it crossing your path, of you wanting to maybe experience some of that nightlife. Who wouldn't? You're both good-looking young men who can easily fit in, acclimate into those things. You might have a negative influence that says, let's just go out one night. All right, whatever. We've been working really hard. Let's just go experience it. Not saying you did or you would, but, someone can speculate. And so was that a deterring factor for you where you were like, maybe we shouldn't go through this Valuetainment deal because of the environment we're going to be in? Or was it like, what are you talking about, Emmanuel? That's why we came down here. Come on, man. Or no, I'm just giving you a hard time. But seriously, what was your thoughts on that? Give me your perspective on it.
Yeah, I think it's like me and Braven, we hold each other in such accountability. It's like that Bible verse, as iron sharpens iron, a friend sharpens a friend, something like that. So we always keep each other in check. If we ever see one of us drifting away or going off track, like we'll check each other for sure. We have that bond, and that helps us. And I think it's really God. Like being religious, it keeps us so focused. So like we were in Miami the other day, in Miami Beach, and you can imagine like all this sinful behavior. Like there's like girls dressed half naked, people partying here, drinking
Half
outdoor
only?
bars, crazy
Fully.
stuff you see in Miami. I'll tell you that. And we're there on a mission. We're like, okay, we're trying to find someone to help out, and we're just so locked in. And
You can help out that girl by buying her like a bikini top. That'd be cool.
yeah, it's
Can't
weird.
film
It's like you don't want to see that because it's just there in front of you. It just happens to be there. But we really try to just stay locked in, and yeah, we just go by our religious faith. That helps a lot. Like that's everything really. If we didn't have Christ, we'd have no purpose. It's like why are we even doing this? Why are we going out spreading kindness? It's all meaningless then. Our whole lives are meaningless without Christ. So that definitely helps us keep our heads like focused, locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been good with that. We're
Do you have
very
anything to add
Yeah,
to
yeah.
that?
To add on to essentially what Neenib was saying is, God wouldn't give us anything we can't handle. So we're here, we're ready. We're gonna continue keep our relationship with Christ, grow it as much as we possibly can. We hold each other very accountable. Like we see something that we know we shouldn't be doing, catch it right before it gets worse. Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, stop. Okay, sorry, bro. You know, like we have each other's support at all times. And as you mentioned earlier, yeah, we do have a Marzaya church here. It's once a month in Orlando, which we're in Fort Lauderdale. It's about a 3-hour drive. They do Raza once a month. It's by, I believe, Father Guedicus. He's from Chicago. He moved out here to start a church here. I think there's about maybe 20 families here or something, maybe a little less. But we're going to go this Sunday, our first time to kind of get in the community, just to get our head out there, see what we can do. And who knows, maybe they'll introduce us to other family members who are out here in Fort Lauderdale. It's just going to, one seed, the seed's been planted. Now we know there's Assyrians here. We actually ended up finding an Assyrian in our apartment building. Small world. We came here last week. Just, quick story. Went to the barber shop. I was getting my hair cut, and I was talking to the gentleman, and he's like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, yeah, I'm from LA, just moved here. But I'm actually Assyrian. He's like, Assyrian? He's like, that's cool, man. I'm like, you know what that is? He's like, yeah. You know what? Actually, at 5 o'clock, I got an Assyrian guy coming in later. I'm like, no, you mean Syrian? He's like, no, Assyrian. He's Assyrian. I'm like, all right, I gotta see it to believe it.
I like how the Assyrians, when you tell Assyrians to like Nakhraya or like Americans, we were like, no, not Syrian, Assyrian. But then when someone says it to us, we're like, you mean Syrian, right?
Exactly.
It's like a flip.
I was so shook, cause especially here in like Fort Lauderdale, Assyrian. No, you mean Syrian.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was like, okay, here, this is my number. Please give it to this gentleman that comes later. Like I'm curious. So I ended up getting a text later that evening, like 6-7 p.m. It's like, hey, bro, I got your number from Stevie, our barber. He's like, hey, you're Assyrian. I was like, yeah, I'm Assyrian. What's up? Dachi Tchuni, like literally in the text message like that. And I was like, where do you stay at? And I was like, oh, okay, I'm staying at this building, blah, blah, blah. And then he looks it up in GPS. It's like 500 feet. I'm like, what? We're neighbors. He comes down, like we literally shake hands. Like we had him for dinner the following week,
That's
him
cool.
and his fiance. It's happening. There's Assyrians out here, and we're going to find them, and we're going to start a little community out here.
That's cool. I actually have another person who I previously interviewed. I'll connect you with them offline.
Awesome.
Behind the scenes of the interview. But so now you guys moved from a very blue state, which was California, blue country, which was Canada, to a very red state now, Florida. Have you guys noticed a different change of quality of life? Do you feel safer? Is it cleaner? What can you tell me about that? Nina, we'll start with you.
It's such a big difference. Like, first off, like everyone here is religious. Everyone you see, they all believe in God. They always say God bless you. In California, LA, we never had that. Like we'd say God bless you to someone when we're just like going away, and they wouldn't say anything back. Or now it's like they're saying it to us first. So there's churches everywhere. Every 2 minutes you drive, you see a big, massive church. Everyone's very family oriented in like Fort Lauderdale. So it's really nice. Like even everyone in the company, like I said earlier, everyone here is very religious. They all have their Bibles on them when they come to work, and that's like the biggest difference I notice. And people are more friendlier here. They talk to you first. So definitely more friendly people here, more like diverse, way more diverse here. Everyone's talking with everyone. You're not just in your own little like bubble. So Florida's interesting. It's definitely different, and we're trying to get used to it. Like when we first got here though, it felt like we were so isolated from Assyrians. It's like, it's only, like, we're just here. There's no Assyrians anywhere. There's not even Middle Easterns, I noticed, in Fort Lauderdale.
It's all
So
Cubans.
it was a little trip, like, in the first week. It felt very strange, but now we're adjusting, getting used to it, meeting, and, like, you're out here, so it feels like home now. Some Assyrians coming out here. So, yeah, I guess that's what I'll leave it at.
Okay, but both places heavily populated,
Mhm.
right? California has an insane density of people. Florida, I've noticed, it's insane as well. I don't know the numbers exactly compared to one another, but I can't imagine it's smaller. So I can't imagine that it's entirely difficult to find a person who's struggling. Sometimes you guys say you strike out when you try something new, but like with so many people out there, do you guys have a hard time, like days or weeks at a time, where it's just like a cold spell where you can't find someone to help out? Or is it the complete opposite? Because, you know, we here in LA, so much homelessness, so much like crime, so much people are going through all these things, home fires constantly, like all these issues like LA has that you don't really necessarily hear in Florida. You know, Florida's painted as like the heaven version of California, especially with, you know, all the politics stuff going down here. So is it harder to find people versus California, or is it like relatively the same?
So far, I think it feels a little trickier. Just people have different vibes here, so we're still trying to get a feel of it and see how they are when we approach them. I feel like California was a little bit easier as of right now, but we did film some really cool videos so far, so I can't really complain. I think it was just like hard spell in the beginning when we first got here, but now it's becoming easier and easier as we like start driving new places and finding different people. So as in the beginning, sure, but now it feels kind of similar to California.
Yeah. Braven, was there ever a time when you guys got so intimate with the person, their story was so impactful that you guys decided, let's not put this one out? Maybe it was a little too close to home, or has there not been that experience yet?
I don't think so, because we wanted to share their story. Like, we're just more excited to share it with the world, to try to get them the help that they needed to start that GoFundMe. It's been rarely where we don't really post any videos. It's kind of, honestly, it surprises us till this day. Like, most of the stuff we shoot, it's pretty much we use it most of the time. Before we were only doing this like twice a week. Kind of to piggyback off what Neenib was saying earlier, like being a little bit harder to find people here. Obviously, we had some challenges initially, like you're moving to a new state. Like, we'd never been here before, so it was a bit harder for us to find like the right locations to go to find like certain people. But again, in California, we were very like we knew the areas very well, but we were only doing it twice a week. Now that we've both gone like full time, because I used to work general contracting like 5 days a week. I was driving in traffic every day, 3 hours. So it was very hard for us to film during the weekdays. It was extremely difficult. But
so
now
you were mainly just shooting on the weekends?
Just on weekends. That's when we were getting together shooting.
How long did you do that for?
I did general contracting in total about like 3 years now.
So it was 3 years just shooting on weekends?
No. 3 years of me doing general contracting, but we started 14 months ago. So so for 14 months straight, we were just shooting on weekends.
Did you ever go without Braven? Was there ever a time where you went solo?
Only once, maybe twice. That's it. And that was because, I don't know, we just really like that Penelope video we talked about. Like, it just became nighttime, and usually we just call it at nighttime, but I just wanted to go out that day. But no, honestly, it's so much better when Braven's with me. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes that I can't do without Braven too. He does a lot.
I wanted to ask, how come you're not more in front of the camera as much as Neenib is? Is it because you're really good at hiding the camera? Is it because Neenib's just better interacting with people? Is this like just agreed upon?
Yeah. It's a good question. He's just a little bit more handsome, so it gets more views. Nah, I'm just kidding. No, but it's a little bit harder because, for instance, like I'll be filming. No, most of the time, like I'll have a hidden camera, he'll have a hidden camera, but I'll do a lot of the filming. And if I get in the camera a little bit more, it just makes like, I feel like the story a little bit too long, and we're trying to make like quick, shorter videos and just get to the point. Whereas like, it's like, okay, now there's me, I'm talking to these people too. You know what I'm saying? But we'll just voice over, like Neenib will talk, or like we'll just like not put that in that clip. Cause like you said, we still need views, right? And then if I'm in it and he's in there, he's talking to it, we're all hugging them. It's like now you got like this 5-minute video, which is kind of not it just doesn't fit the niche properly.
I respect that about you because you're sacrificing being in front of the camera for the greater good of getting that person's message out there, giving more shine to him on camera time, and you're behind the scenes. So that's selflessness right there. I respect
Appreciate
it.
that.
That's
Thank you.
tough.
It's for the
It is.
people. The future looks
It
bright.
is, honestly, not once has this guy ever been like, oh, can I be on camera, or why aren't I on camera? Like, he's always just helped people off camera. Like, we try to do more off camera than on camera, and he does so much that the world doesn't see. And yeah, he's never once complained or anything. It just shows, and we're not even related. We've just become brothers and got this bond. It just worked so perfectly. It's like God put us together. We started this journey, and now we're here in Florida. It's weird.
It's the good connection. You guys got that good team chemistry
Yeah.
going on, and it just works. And I agree with you. Also, something that maybe you guys discussed, I'm just going to put it out there from my perspective. I'm not insulting or bringing one of you up or down. I'm just saying this as a fact. You're 6 foot, a little taller than me, 5'11", for the record. And, you know, like Neenib is a less imposing person if you're coming up to a person, especially a woman who's on the street or whatever. It's less intimidating than versus a man with, you know, clean-shaved Neenib versus bearded Braven. Just some of that stuff can be a play, especially approaching, you know, women by themselves. So I feel like it's a smart play to put Neenib on the line as well.
I don't even know. We don't really like analyze it like that because he's really good at speaking with strangers too. So
I'm not saying he's not. I'm
yeah.
not saying he's not. I'm just saying, like, with you standing next to each other 2 by 2, I'd be like, if I didn't know you, I'd be like, all right, I want to talk to Neenib first to get a feel about these two together, and then I'll transition to Braven.
Yeah.
I got a question, one more thing on Canada. I can't let Canada go because last time I did a live with Paul Leah, I made a joke about Canada, and the Canadian Assyrians got very mad. So I'm going to keep harping on Canada because it's funny. First of all, Canada has a bill called Bill 21, okay? And what this does is that it basically excludes people who work in the public sector from wearing any religious symbol. So if you're a firefighter, a cop, or a teacher, you can't wear a hijab if you're Muslim, a female. You can't wear a cross if you're a Christian. And so how do you feel that a country is implementing these things? You have a cross on. You have a cross on. I have a cross on. We have a lot of crosses on.
Amen.
We're technically working right now.
Yeah.
And if this was considered a public sector job, we would have to take these crosses off. What if you had a tattoo? You have to cover it up. So how do you view it as being a Canadian person? And then I know you've had a personal experience with Neenib as well. I'd like to get your perspective on. But starting from you, because you were in Canada, how do you view these types of laws?
I think if I'm in their shoes, if I'm still in Canada and they said that they were going to do that, let's say I'm a police officer, I'm still going to wear my cross. And if they tell me you can't wear it, we'll fire you, then fire me. I'm not going to put a job over Christ. I'm not going to put anything over Christ. So if I have to get...
all due respect,
Mhm.
you don't have a kid, you don't have a wife, you don't have a
Right.
mortgage that I know of, you don't have car payments, you don't have dependencies the way that these other people do who have started a career and gotten into crippling debt in a way.
Right.
How are they supposed
Well,
to handle it?
I think then all the Christians should stand together and not let it go and just make a loud noise for themselves. And if everyone is doing it, they're not going to go fire everyone. I doubt it. Highly doubt it. There's a lot of Christians in Canada and Catholics for sure. So, yeah, I'd say everyone just stand up or everyone just continue wearing your, whether
How
you're
can they all
Muslim or
stand
Christian.
up, though? What can they change to make it that everyone is unified all of a sudden out of nowhere? Because right now everyone's very divided. It's I'm looking out for my pocket because that person doesn't really care about me.
Mhm.
How do you change that culture? How do you change that? Because I agree with what you're saying, but how do you implement the right steps in order to get people to start thinking that way? Because then you can bring that mindset into America too.
Mm-hmm. Maybe someone with very big influence in Canada has to step up for everybody. There's a lot of people there, but unfortunately, there's so much celebrities too. Like Drake, for example, he's from Toronto. Well, he's not Christian. A bad example. But there's a lot of figures, lots of people with so many followers, and they're Christian, but they'll never talk about it. They're too scared of their audience unfollowing or things like that. And it's like you have this platform, you have all these people supporting you. Like, why not stand up for what's right when the time comes? Like, use your platform. You can actually do something with it. So
Having the leaders stand up first,
Yeah.
and the people will follow. I see it. Yeah, there's not really a real leader that has stepped up and to lead the charge on that.
yeah.
At least from what I noticed, you have a point. So in personal experiences, though, have you guys ever faced any situation where you had to walk away from a job or anything like that?
Yeah, so this one was interesting. So I'm not gonna get into too much details about it, but we were essentially doing this brand deal with this company, and we were shooting. Right, they had their camera guys. They were helping us out. We're shooting. Neenib had his cross out, and the production team, they were like, "Hey, can you put your cross away?" To Neenib.
Like take it off or tuck it in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they told me to completely take it off just in case it got in the shot, because we filmed like we got the so we were shooting this commercial, and we kept retrying, and then we got the perfect shot, and they were all clapping, and then they're like, they saw the footage and they saw the cross was out, and they were like, sorry, we have to do that again, like you have to take off your cross. And sorry to cut you off, Braven.
No, you're good.
And then yeah, it was just like, it was a weird situation, because it's like all these people, it's like a whole team of maybe 10 15 people there just for that shoot. So it's like, what do we do? Like, looking back at it, I wish I would have resisted and just said like, I can't, like that's me, I always wear my cross in my videos, I have to, because they wanted me to be authentic. They're like, be yourself, do this, do that, we want your full natural self. And then they're saying that, and then they're like, you have to remove your cross. And yeah, so it's a difficult situation looking back at it.
Did you remove your cross?
I did, unfortunately.
How did that make you feel?
I looked at Braven, I was like kind of annoyed, and he was too. I was like, but looking back at it, I should have just kept it on in the future for sure. Like,
is there a feeling of regret? Is there a feeling of you should have just walked out of that shoot? Is there a feeling of, wanting to take back time?
Yeah, I think I would have politely just talked to them, be like, hey, I can't take it off for religious reasons. Like, I've had this on my whole life. I'm not taking it off now. So if you guys want to stop shooting, we can stop shooting. But if it's okay to keep it on, we'll keep it on. That's what I would have said. That's what I'll say moving forward. So
you won't have to worry about that at a place like Valuetainment. That's nice.
Which we're very grateful for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to add onto that, like, and this was the last day of shooting as well. So we were literally wrapping it up. It was like the last hour. The other people we're shooting with, they had to leave because they had a flight to catch, and we just wanted to get the shot so bad. I mean, no excuses to why we took it off. I felt like crap. I was like, man, come on, like, this is insane. They want this cross off. It's like the last day of shooting. Why are they being so resistant? And we're like, all right, you know what, whatever. Like, Lord, I'm sorry. Like, forgive us. Like, they're just giving us a really hard time right now. We don't have our manager here. We're in like a whole nother state right now. And it's like, it's just me and him. We have a flight to catch soon, and it's raining. It's like, all right, let's just get out of here. Now we know for the future not to work with this person again. But if I know going back, we would definitely stand up for it a little bit more. I would say we would resist that for sure. No doubt in my mind. Like, yeah, like, it's not a regret, but like going forward, like, I know better now.
Christianity gets constantly attacked and ridiculed and insulted and shoved under the rug. And I realized something the last 3 years during the pandemic, during social media censorship. It's like, whenever something is true, they want to shut it up the most. Yeah. Whenever something is true, they want to hide it the most. Whenever something is the truth, they don't want it to get out. Whatever it may be. Where the virus came from. What religion is right. So, I mean, every time I see someone do this to Christianity, and it's like, you told me the person offline, it just makes sense that Christianity is the truth.
Yeah.
You keep wanting to hide it. What are you afraid of? If it's so easily debunked, debunk it. Mm-hmm. What are you afraid of that someone's wearing a cross? It just shows me that you're afraid of the truth because you can't defend it, so might as well not even bring it up. It's like the people around Thanksgiving dinner. Oh, don't bring up politics and don't bring up religion and don't bring up this and that. Why? Because someone there is going to have a valid point that you can't argue against. That's it. Assyrians. I would be absolutely remiss if we did not talk about the topic of Assyrians, being 3 Assyrian men sitting in the lounge of a man who is half Assyrian. And so it seems like there is a major shift happening in the world for Assyrians in general. Let's name them. George Janko, Vincent Oshana, Patrick Bet-David, Inanna Sarkis, Braven Davood, Neenib Youkana. Let's go. Name the list. They're all there, and they're spread out all across the world. I was reading a book the other day, debriefing the president of Saddam Hussein, and one of the people that they mentioned in the book, and it was an FBI debriefer who interrogated Saddam, was an Assyrian man. George Piro. So every single time I open a book and I read about it and I discover a new person, an Assyrian was involved some way, shape, or form across the world in a major landscape.
Yeah.
Right? Patrick seems like he's tapped into the Assyrian culture very well. He's bringing on 2 new young men who are Assyrian. He had a panel the other day, which was, in my opinion, and, you know, if you look at the numbers right now, the biggest Assyrian panel to ever air on YouTube. Over 1 million views, Marmati Emmanuel, Vincent Oshana, Georgienko, and PBD himself. So it seems like Pat is making a play of some sort for Assyrians. Have you guys been debriefed in a way about a vision for Assyrians with Valuetainment? Is there a plan being made? I know maybe you can't share too much, but if you can, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, how I see it is like, okay, Georgienko, Patrick with David, who else is big? Like Inanis, I guess. They're all like very big influences for Assyrians right now, and they could do a lot for sure. And then there's us, which is like the younger generation, like yourself, us. We're on the come up. We're still not at their level, nowhere near, but we're working on it. Yeah, so me and Braven have this vision where we always say we're going to do it. We're going to bring back Assyria. And right now I feel like me and Braven are the students, and we're learning off like PBD and everyone above us. So when the time comes where we get to become the teachers, we want to be a really good influence on like young Assyrian men. We want to, me and Braven, we always say this, and we're going to do it. We want to bring back Assyria. And I know that sounds crazy, and some people watching might just laugh at us, but we always say it, we're going to do it. And it's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be next year. It's going to take a couple of years. We're going to have to work as hard as we possibly can. You need influence. You need wealth for that. You need a lot of things. But one day, Braven and I will work on bringing back Assyria. And I truly believe that. And every time we say something, we do it. So I feel like this is one of those moments. So we'll see.
I want to bring you in, but real quick. The last time we spoke, someone who knows you back in LA, I won't say her name due to privacy reasons. She didn't give me the okay to say her name. So
Sure.
Called me up after our interview. And she said, I know Neenib and you were joking around saying Modesto is like the mini Assyria and you want to have your own village one day. But she said to me, look into this sovereign nation in Nevada. It's called the Republic of Molossia. I'll put it on screen. And what it is that a man, for a tourist attraction, bought sovereign land within the United States and declared a sovereign nation. He owns that nation within the United States. He did it as a tourist attraction, as a joke, kind of. But imagine if Assyrians pulled their money in. Mm-hmm. We, right now, can't work together to get a country. Not realistic, in my opinion. And as Mar Awa, His Holiness, so elegantly said, we are not at the level of maturity yet to have our own country at this point, which I fully agree with. Now, these are my words now. Imagine if we were to pull in our money and have our own sovereign nation within a safe borders of America, practice building up our country, working together again, getting closer, removing those old ties of villages and all of these things that we can weed out slowly over time. And then let's see how this experiment goes. And then let's focus on getting a country. So it's not impossible, and it's not something that to laugh at, because I think we can do it. Some guy as a joke did it in Nevada. Why can't Assyrians do it legitimately?
Yeah.
And so, Braven, I want to get your opinion on it. What do you think it means first to be Assyrian? And then I want to dive into what you think the biggest issue Assyrians face today are. What does it mean to be Assyrian?
To be Braven. I'm just kidding. No, to be Assyrian, honestly, it's such a blessing. It's such a big thing. Before growing up, it was kind of frustrating, right? Like in school, I went to school. I grew up in Burbank, California, so there's not many Assyrians there. I went to Disney Elementary was elementary school I went to, and then after I went to like Luther Burbank Middle School. There was no Assyrians in any of those. Yeah, there were some Armenians. Maybe some of them knew what Assyrians were, but not entirely. You'd be surprised. It was kind of like I was very frustrated. Like, oh, I have to explain to everybody, give them a lesson, like what are Assyrians, where we come from. And I was just like, I had to be Assyrian, you know? But as I got older, like hitting high school, college, and I got more involved with the churches and more involved with other Assyrians. I fell in love with our traditions, with our food, just where we come from, how old we are. Like we just had our Assyrian New Year. Like it's such a blessing, and I'm so happy to be Assyrian, to be able to speak, Neo-Aramaic, which is what we touched on previously, that Jesus spoke that language, and we're the first civilization to adopt Christianity. We have so many inventions. It's such a blessing, and I'm honored to be Assyrian, and that's why we kind of do this as well, to put ourselves out there, to just bring more awareness to us. And I think some struggles that we face today is that a lot of Assyrians are afraid of who they are. Just what I mentioned earlier, like as a kid, like it's just like tiring. Okay, whatever. Like I'm just Irani, because I was born in Iran, right? Like it's just easier to say, or I'm American, I'm born American, just to save you that conversation with others. But I think that's this very big problem. And then what we'll do is we'll marry non-Assyrians. Okay, like I see a lot of Assyrians. Even some influencer Assyrians, just in general, a lot of Assyrians will marry non-Assyrians.
The majority of them are.
Yeah, and our language is dying, so our numbers are dropping, and we're trying to do the exact opposite of that. We're trying to bring Assyria back, and I think that's one of the biggest issues we face, is because we're not accepting who we are, and we're not marrying within ourselves, is going to be our downfall. And we're going to try to do everything we can to put us out there, and maybe encourage one person to marry another Assyrian, and just slowly go from there. Like he said, it's not going to happen over a year. It's going to happen, might take a decade, might take 2.
Well, for me, what it means to be Assyrian is to be a torchbearer for our people, right? I agree with you with everything you said, by the way. But to be a torchbearer for our ancient culture, our ethnicity, and who we are. For modern day Assyrians, we have a pressure and a responsibility on our shoulders that no other generation has ever faced before, because it either ends with us completely or it thrives with us. And so that's a lot of, weight on our shoulders that we have to bear in a land that wasn't ethnically our ancestors. And so, we're becoming quote unquote watered down in this land. I'm very grateful for America. I think this is the greatest country in the world. I don't ever want to leave America. And so it's a double-edged sword, right? Because this country gave us everything that we ever wanted, and at the same time, it's also in a way stripping us from our identity. So it's sad and a blessing the same way. You can't have it all. But to touch on what you said about Assyrians marrying non-Assyrians, I think the question you have to ask is, why is that happening? Let's look at the major influencers in the world. Listen, it says in the Bible, do not stir up love until it awakens itself. It's in the Song of Saul, where he writes about love. And so your heart chooses who you fall in love with. You don't really choose who you fall in love with. So it's a bit out of your control in a certain way. Is it ideal to fall in love with an Assyrian? Absolutely. You have a greater chance of falling in love with a non-Assyrian when you're in a land that's full of non-Assyrians. But also we have to ask the question, why is it that almost every single famous Assyrian person didn't marry an Assyrian? Name them. Even your boss, Patrick Bet-David, did not marry an Assyrian person. George Janko is engaged to a non-Assyrian. Inanna Sarkis married a white model, Calvin Klein model. Shout out. Not Assyrian. Benil Dariush. Yeah. Go down the list. Why did that happen? Now, I'm not going to put words in their mouths. I'm not going to make assumptions for them on their behalf. But I will say, for me, we're not making it easy for each other to marry each other. We're making it very difficult for us to marry each other.
100%.
And I noticed that a lot of people just say, because there needs to be Christ first in a relationship. Okay, that's great. Yes, there needs to be Christ first in a relationship. But the majority of Assyrians, claim to be these super hardcore Christians, right? And so we claim to be the first Christians in the world. We argue with the Armenians about that. But let's just say Assyrians claim it for now, right? But then, the women will come out and say, well, it's more important for him to be a Christian person. Okay, well, we're all Christians. We all try to live that way to a certain extent. But what is it that you're doing and that I'm doing that we're not ending up together? There's a deeper rooted question here. It's easy to say the answer. It's like, oh, yeah, we need Jesus first in relationship. Yes, of course, that's obvious. Yes, you need Jesus first in relationship. But why are you not being attracted to Assyrians? Why are you not going towards them? Why are you repelled by them?
Yeah.
Is it because they dress funny? Is it because they don't have good jobs? Is it because she's out all the time? Is it because he's out all the time? What is it?
Yeah.
Let's ask these questions and let's figure it out, because the answer is obvious. Marry an Assyrian.
Yeah, I agree.
But we're not doing it.
Yeah.
It's because we're scared that we're related to each other.
That too, that could be it. That could be
No,
it for sure.
But to be honest, it's hard.
It's very hard.
Bottom line is it's hard, and you have to have faith in Christ, and in His timing, He'll find you that Assyrian that you pray for. Sometimes we like to take things in our own path, and when we make the decision on our own life, I think maybe that's what happens, that we marry non-Assyrians. I'm not entirely sure. I can't answer that question. I'm not married, so it hasn't happened yet. But I think that, deep down, I'm like, screw it. They're not Assyrian. Like, I'm going to fall in love with this person. And it happens, I've fallen in love with non-Assyrians, and it's one of the hardest things to just walk away from. At the end of the day, like you said, we don't choose who we fall in love with, but we do choose our actions, and love is just another feeling, right? We just have to walk away with it and just pray and have faith in God that His timing will lead us to the right person. And that will answer all of our prayers.
I don't want to come off rude. I love Assyrians with all
You have
my
to get
heart.
this right, or we won't be a nation.
Yeah. No, I love Assyrians so much.
No pressure.
These are just things I notice. Just as an example, I have praying on our downfall. Who people tell me, people will talk. All we're doing is try to spread kindness and love the Lord as
Praying
much as
on
we
your
can.
downfall?
Praying on our downfall, just talking bad stuff, and these things happen. Not that we care, but I'm just saying, it's we're Assyrian. Why can't we just support each other, help each other out? There's many different examples. Let's say your dad, for example, wants to paint his house, and there's an Assyrian painter, and then some other Assyrian will come, and he'll be like, no, don't do him. He's Assyrian. He's lazy, or this, that. It's why? You should be supporting your Assyrians who are in whatever industry you're doing. If you want to go to a doctor, go to an Assyrian doctor.
But here's the thing with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but you got to be so good at your trade that there's no other option than to go to where you're the obvious choice. Because a lot of times you'll hire an Assyrian, and then because they know you're Assyrian, you're going to be treated better. They're going to ask for a deal because you're like, come on, bro, we got blood.
Yeah.
They take advantage of you in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's no, I'm Assyrian, you're Assyrian. You should be paying full price to my business, and you should be supporting me the same way that a non-Assyrian would. That's the only way that we're going to survive. Stop asking for discounts. Stop doing a half-assed job on these jobs because you think I'm not going to say anything, because you're taking advantage of our relationship. Yeah. Actually, do what you're supposed to do. Be the best at it. I'll have no other choice than to go to you, and you being Assyrian is a plus.
Right.
Because I think we're screwing each other in that way.
100%.
Yeah.
You should pay them more, if anything, to support
Give
the
them an
business,
extra
to come
tip.
back more.
I agree. I also think at the end of the day, to solve all these problems is if everyone gave their life to Christ. If everyone was really as religious as they say, and we're Assyrian too. We should be the most religious people on the planet. We're the first civilization to adapt Christianity. If we were all true Christians, true warriors of God, I don't think we'd have any of these problems.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Assyrians, there's 10% of them who are non-churchgoers whatsoever.
Okay.
Those are called there's the Etanaya, and then there's the nationalists, the ones who don't care about religion whatsoever. In every single society, there are people who are secular 100%. In America, there's people who are atheists, and there's people who are not. There are people who are Muslims, there's people who are Jewish, there's people. So in every region of the world, in Africa, in Asia, there are all these different. So we're not special in this way of saying if we're all Christian, then all of our problems will be resolved, because realistically, that's not the way that the world works. There's always another sect of a person within any nation that doesn't believe in anything. And listen, I'm Christian before I'm Assyrian. I have this conversation all the time. The people who say that they're Assyrian before they're Christian, I think you're short-sighted, and I think that you're only thinking about this life, because God doesn't care what your ethnicity is in the afterlife.
True.
At the end of the day, you're a follower of Christ. Your body and your ethnicity stays on the ground, and your soul that lasts for the rest of eternity goes into heaven. That's the only thing that matters, right? So I'm a Christian before I'm Assyrian. But there are Assyrians, regardless, who say that they're Assyrian before that they're Christian. So you'll never get those in line with, if we all believe in Christ, then this, that, and the third will be solved. I agree that a lot of our issues will be solved with love, care, passion, and Jesus is in the center of it. But that's a theological answer to a physical problem where a lot of people won't get back into. So I think, all due respect, because I love you and I respect your opinion, I'm not putting your opinion down.
No, of course.
But I'm saying this because I really want to see us progress.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking a hard stance saying, yes, Christ should be focal, But look at America, the greatest nation that ever existed. At some point, we could argue in the 1960s, we became secular and that was the decline of America. But at the same time, we've retained that super global power, and we're still a secular nation where we give people the freedom to choose their religion, and we didn't shove down Christianity down people's throats. That's the freedom. That's the slippery slope of freedom, right?
Yeah.
But America was established because people wanted religious freedom to practice Christianity the way that they wanted to. But now it's a secular nation. So I think we have to look at everything America did correctly, implement that, and then strip away everything America did bad, and then implement that, and we're one step closer to a nation. What that is, that could be discussed in length with people who actually know more on the topic than I am right now, and also someone who is not running on 0 hours of sleep in the last 36 hours.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good start, and I think you both bring up very good points that definitely need to be addressed.
Even, I think if we had a leader too, if we had our own country, if there was a president of Assyria,
Who should that leader be?
PBD.
I would say Patrick Bet-David. Yeah. There's no one else who will fit the role perfectly. And if Patrick Bet-David was American, I'm pretty positive he would have been the president of the United
100%.
States easily. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. And soon he'll be most likely meeting with.
But does he want it? Would he ever want that?
I
To be
think so.
president of Assyria?
I think so, because he has so much money. Like, he could just leave and retire.
What
chill.
about his Armenian side, though? Would that ever be a point of conflict? Because I'm 12.5% Armenian, by the way.
Right. Okay.
So I get to say this.
Hi,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know. He's never once picked a side on whether.
No, I'm not saying he has to pick a side, but
Yeah.
I'm saying
Would they be in conflict? I don't think so. I think Armenians would be happy if they saw Assyria come up. They have a country. Why? Maybe us one day will. So I don't know. If we ever did bring back Assyria, and we had to pick one leader, one president, Patrick Bet-David. Who else is gonna really do it? He's like the perfect role model too. It's not like he does drugs or anything like that. He always wants the best for the youth, and he just knows everything. He's very experienced with life, and he's gone through it all, and he started here from nothing. And yeah, I think he's the perfect person. Who else would you say?
I don't think it should be religious figures.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the Mars, I don't know, I'm just trying to categorize all of them together without naming them one by one. They should not be even considered, and I'll explain why. This was actually explained to me by a friend of mine, and I really, really adopted this idea, this way of thinking because of them. So they said, you want a religious figure who was ordained to be a holy man, to represent a church, to then go be the leader of a nation. Do you know what leaders of the nation have to do? The presidents of nations have to do? They have to order people to go die for them on their behalf. They have to order wars. They have to defend. That's bloodshed left and right. You want a religious figure to have blood on his hands when he was ordained to just teach the teachings of Christ, which was the complete opposite of that? So a lot of Assyrians say this patriarch or that bishop should be the leaders of our nation. I don't think that's right. I think that they should be words of wisdom in the ears of the person who would be the leader of the Assyrian nation, because they have so much things that they could provide in terms of counsel. I don't think that they should be sitting there as a politician, and they would have to be subjected to lie and negotiate and deter from their main focus, which is to teach the words of Jesus Christ as best as possibly as they can. That's their main job. And so I think that's something Assyrians need to step away from. And Patrick Bet-David is an easy person to nominate as number one. But what I would say is we would have to go through a democratic republic version of our Assyrian. I would say take all of the good qualities of the American judicial system, the three branches of government, the way that we vote, and implement that into Assyria. Now strip away the corruption. What does that mean? Okay, very basically. Make sure that no politician is able to hold any types of wealth outside of what is being compensated to them directly from their position. Meaning they're not allowed to own stocks whatsoever. Make it so that they have term limits. Make it so that their spouses are not allowed to invest on their behalf. Make it so that that power is very limited to them. Their seat is limited, that they can't sit there forever, and that there's no way of making financial compensation and money, and then developing another system of crony capitalism. I think that if you dissect all of the things that America did wrong, take them out, put in ways of making it so that they don't do that, then if the people elect Patrick Bet-David as the president through a fair democracy, There you go.
You sound like young Patrick with David.
Can I nominate you?
Yeah.
I don't see. Here's the thing, though. I know there's like kind of like a half joke, but I don't think I would ever. I would never be able to be that type of person, for one reason. I would never ask someone to do something that I was not capable of doing. As the president of a free nation, you would have to ask people to die on your behalf. I am not willing to kill. So I would never ask anyone to kill for my nation. You can call me a coward, but I care about my soul in the next life more so than I do of 80 to 90 solid years that I might have, if I'm lucky, on earth.
Yeah.
So me as a leader at that height, I would gladly pull my hat from the race. I wouldn't even consider it.
Is it worth sacrificing your country?
That's a fantastic question. That goes back to the religious leaders as the person who's in charge of the nation, because we had a patriarch, MrBeast, who during World War I, the Ottomans and the Turks captured his brother. And they said, surrender the Assyrians or we kill your brother. And he said, I always get goosebumps when I say this, my brother is one, but my nation is many.
Wow.
And he let his brother get sacrificed on behalf of his nation. I don't know if I would be able to even get close to making a decision as unselfish as that. And then he later shortly got assassinated by the Ottomans and the Turks in World War I. So these are the things that the president or the leader of these free nations have to go through. And if you think you can handle it, you think you're comfortable with having blood on your hands, and you think you can answer to God in the afterlife with that, by all means, put your name in the race. But I don't think I'll ever throw my hat in the race.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because then it goes back to putting God first. And what would God want? He wouldn't want you to kill anyone. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like, if I was to ever, I always think about that. If I was ever to go to war, I would just die as a man and not kill anyone. I feel like if I had to. Obviously, I'd try to stay alive, but I don't think I would want to do that. I don't think God would like that. But it's very difficult. It's so much different factors going into like this topic, and it's so hard to get to pick like one right way.
Mm-hmm.
So you pick one thing, and then there's a bunch of negatives that come with it. So I don't know. It's a very weird topic, and everyone knows this. And to bring back Assyria, it's so difficult, man. I don't know. Some people say we have to go to war to get our country back. I think we don't have to do that. I think there's other ways, but it'll take time.
I have a few recommendations I like to make to Pat. So when I get my chance to talk to him, I'm gonna tell him these things. But gentlemen, this was a very fruitful conversation. I feel like we got to know you guys more intimately, deeper. Your mission here is very noble, and I applaud you guys. Again, thank you for bringing me and my team out to you guys in Florida. Again, in Patrick Bet-David's Cigar Lounge. It's an absolute honor, and I wish you guys nothing but success, the best, and I hope that one day we could have another conversation like this soon.
Thank you, brother.
Likewise.
We're happy to have you here.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Cool.
much.
Thank you,
man.
Neenib.
Thank you. Thank you.